A very warm welcome to the first debate of this year's Balkan Trafik Festival, and actually a very warm welcome to the whole festival, which is kicking off in this very moment. And it is the 15th edition. It's the anniversary, the 15th anniversary. And if I didn't have to moderate a couple of debates today, I would say champagne, but that's probably for a little bit later. Now, we have called this debate, this first debate, Together with Our Diversities. And it is indeed about cities and diversity in cities and how to make the best of it. But we have also called it in our preparation the Mayor's Debate, and that's because most of the people which are around my digital table here now are mayors or vice mayors in charge of cities that represent, probably like no other places in Europe, a history and a present of diversity on this continent. Now, my name is Olaf Bruns, and just a few things to the speakers. We have 5 participants for 45 minutes, and not even 45 minutes anymore. So please be concise. That doesn't mean that you have to answer with one word, but it does mean that probably I might interrupt you at some moments. I also like you to speak to each other. So if you want to intervene after one of the other participants has said something, just raise your hand, give me a sign, and I will call you to answer to another speaker. And we are a culture festival here. This does also mean that there's no protocol. We're not working our way down from the senior position to the most junior one. All the contrary, actually. Younger you are, more speaking time you tend to get. And it also means that we're about to start now. No, I just wanted to say, for 5 people in 45 minutes, it might be that some of you will wait frustratingly long. And another last thing, we have a cartoonist working for us during our debates, and you will see some of her cartoons during the debates and at the end. So don't be astonished when these drawings appear. Now, let me start introducing the mayors present and all the speakers present in this debate. We start with Jana Gabric, the mayor of Trbovlje in Slovenia. A very warm welcome. And Jasna has prepared a video. Can we show the video, please?
We were for more than 200 years old mining city with heavy industry. But today we are trying to go on a new path of new technologies, of startups, of great equality for living. And that's what we are doing now. So there are entrepreneurs who are building new factories. We will build soon a new place for startups and for their ideas. We are trying to build spaces in our city that will bring more quality to life. So that means different parks. We're rebuilding schools and trying to make all those facilities that are needed for a good life even greater.
Thank you very much. We also have Anuela Ristani, the Deputy Mayor of Tirana for International Affairs. A very warm welcome to you. We have Dominic Fritz, the just recently newly elected Mayor of Timișoara in Romania. A very warm welcome to you, and you have prepared a video too, haven't you? Can you see the video?
I'm Dominic Fritz, and I'm the mayor of Timișoara in Romania. I am a German citizen and was elected mayor of this great Romanian city 6 months ago. And this says actually a lot about Timișoara. It has a very rich multicultural history. There are Hungarians, Bulgarians, Germans, Serbians, Roma living with the Romanian majority, and this for hundreds of years. And this diversity has actually bred a lot of innovation. Timișoara is a city with a lot of firsts. For example, it was the first city with electric street lighting in Europe, and also the first city with a beer factory in the whole region here. Of course, the revolution started here, the Romanian revolution against communism in 1989, as a revolution of people of all kinds of ethnicities. And now we're preparing to be Europe's capital of culture and in 2023, and we're very excited to present the history and culture of Timișoara and of Romania to Europe.
Thank you very much. And we also have Can Akinçalar, who is the Secretary General of the Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality, and you have prepared a video too. Can we see it?
Hello everyone, I am Can Akinçalar, Secretary General of Istanbul Metropolitan Municipality. I want to present my sincere greetings from beautiful Istanbul. Our city connects Asia and Europe, ancient and modern. It also brings different cultures and communities together in peace and harmony. Like previous years, the 15th Balkan Trafik Festival unites Europe and Balkans on the basis of art. I am glad to participate to such an amazing event. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we also have Jean-Pierre Alquin, who is the head of unit for macro regions at the Directorate General for Region and Urban Policy of the European Commission. Well, as I said, I like to start with small places. The city of Trbovlje in Slovenia might not be known to everybody, but for me it rang a bell. I suddenly remembered it somewhere in the back of my mind. I remembered a concert I've seen, and that's a long time ago, more than 30 years ago, in the 1980s. Laibach, a band from Slovenia, coming from Trbovlje. If I remember right, correct me if I'm wrong. Now I know it is, I remember this concert, I was like 15, and this concert was so full of energy, but more than everything else, it made me understand that things might not always be as you imagine them to be. Now I know, of course, that Laibach is a very controversial art industrial band, and Jasna, I don't want to put you in that pigeonhole to speak about a band which may have been fallen out of grace in Trbovlje. I don't even know. But what I do think is that it shows that sometimes in smaller places there is a huge potential, an artistic and an intellectual and an innovative potential. So what I would like to ask you, really, Jasna, what can you do as a mayor of a city to keep this diversity and this energy of a place alive? Jasna.
Thank you very much, firstly, and I'm honored to be a part of this Balkan Traffic Festival. Greetings from Slovenia and from Trbovlje. I must say at the beginning that we are proud on our group Laibach, which is a worldwide known band and very successful one. Of course, the culture is full of diversity, so as Laibach as well. But when speaking about the city, yeah, you have to know that we were for more than 200 years mining and heavy industrial city. That left some things in our city that were really good for the musicians, for the artists, to discover their ways of what can they do and what they can make. So here was a lot of Slovenian people that now are an important part of Slovenian culture raised up, and they were starting working and doing what they do still now, especially in our city. What makes it special? Yeah, even if you drive through the city, you will still see some things that were left, and they are from the decades when we were really heavy industrial city with mining. But what we are trying to do now is how to live in a modern way, of course, and on the other side, to not leave this behind. So how to preserve all this heritage that we have now, for also the cultural projects that we have. We are now more moving in the way of Trbovlje New Media City with the Speculum Artium, which is a cultural huge festival with artists from different countries, even from Japan. And we are very proud of that. And as a local community, we are supporting this kind of projects, like by financing them. Especially now, we are trying to find some new funds to make more of them. For example, we have now the project which is now finishing Inspiration, where we tried to combine for tourists this heritage, this history on one hand, and the culture on the other side. So we also had some festivals. We connect with the Rijeka, which is also an industrial city in Croatia, and with the Labin, which is mining city in Croatia, and one Slovenian city. So we are really trying to get a lot of funds to support these projects, to support the culture, and to how to say, revise it in some other ways as well.
Yes, now let me just jump to a totally other topic. You were elected a few years ago the youngest female mayor of Slovenia. And you just said, and also in your video, it's an ancient mining town. I'm just wondering how Triboli was ready for you, and how difficult was it to win that fight?
Oh, back in 2014, almost nobody believed that in the old mining town of Trbovlje, which was quite also a heavy communist center of even Yugoslavia, because the Communist Party of Yugoslavia was established. I mean, the road started in Trbovlje. I don't know if you know that. So women win elections and become a mayor, and being as well as young as I was 29 years old, without a party backing me, it was just something that a lot of people couldn't imagine. But you know what? What was the thing? I was a deputy mayor before 2 years, and I was really focused on my work of what I can do for the society, for my city, what we can do to live better. How can we change this heavy industry history in a good way, that we can live even better than we were before? How to change the city that it will be the living standard as it should be in 21st century? What kind of projects we can do? How can we open the city to the other countries? How we can connect with them? I also reunited, or how to say, started this sister town projects that just died then after we became independent country in 90s. So we had in Serbia and in Northern Macedonia, and we again I tried to start to have the connections with them and any kind of projects. We established again that our youth are having exchanges with those cities. So that's how I try to make a new way, that is coming now with the new generation.
Thank you very much. I would like to jump from the smallest place in our discussion to the biggest one. Now, Trbovlje has, I think, about 15,000 inhabitants. In Istanbul, there might be streets that have 15,000 inhabitants. Now, I had the opportunity a few years ago for a job I had several stepovers in Istanbul, which made me fly over the city a couple of times, I think 6 times in a year. And what I realized was Istanbul is not a city, it's a country, it's a world. You fly like for more than an hour over Istanbul, and it's city, 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 city. And it has, of course, in historic depth as few other places. I mean, Istanbul has been Byzantine and Constantinople and Roman and Greek and Persian and Orthodox and Ottoman and Sunni and Turkish. It is relevant to Armenian speakers, to Arabic speakers more and more in recent time. It is diversity as no other place in the world. Now, Can, what I would like to ask you is, what are the reasons that come to your mind why Istanbul is a stronger place because of these diversities?
Thank you very much, Olaf. I prepared long speech, but if I have time, I'm going to this speech. First, I'm very happy to take part of organization to address you on something very special events. Where Balkans and Europe come together under the umbrella of arts and culture. Art has contributed to the birth of new ideas and helped flourish diversity in every area of humankind. In this way, art has been placed at the heart of freedom and enlightenment. While it nurtures the human soul, it also makes it possible to have different perspectives live together in harmony. For this reason, I believe art has an important function keeping society alive and together in harmony. Therefore, I believe the Balkan Traffic Festival is a very valuable event in that regard. As may also know, every city has its own strong reference. Over time, these reference points are identified with the city's identity itself and become the icons of the city. These unique artworks also help with city legibility as well. Istanbul is a very rich city in this sense. For example, we have poets that listen to Istanbul with their eyes closed. They have written poems and songs for this city. We have painters whose muses for their canvas are Bosphorus scenery, the beauty of the Maiden's Tower, and grandeur of Galata Tower. We have sculptures who make us feel as if the past experiences of civilizations still walk among us today. However, all these are not enough for the urban needs for art. We believe that art must be taken to the streets and public squares from museums and art galleries. Our greater leader Mustafa Kemal Atatürk expresses this the best. A nation devoid of art and artists cannot have a full existence. We believe in this wholeheartedly and make it our vision that art should touch everyone's daily life. Of course, the calendar doesn't move forward in a linear manner. Art always finds a way to improve and update itself. In Istanbul, where a vast majority of population is young, we do our best to follow the hottest trends and support arts and artists. Unfortunately, COVID-19 affected us in this area as well. We know that during the crisis, artists have faced major hardship. In order to help with grievances, we have devoted ourselves to make sure the public and art are intervened together. As our most recent attempt, we have started a big sport project for theater artists under the motto, Istanbul is your stage. We also give a great importance and art-themed organization a global scale. Taking this opportunity, I would like to express that I find the organization
John, please allow me to interrupt you for a second. Bear with me for interrupting you. May I just ask you, how important is the diversity, because that's just coming to the topic of this debate, the diversity of different cultures for Istanbul, and what is the city doing to strengthen this diversity?
Istanbul is a multicultural, functional city. You mentioned that we have almost 16 million citizens lives in Istanbul. There are a lot of different culture, from Jewish community to Christian community to refugees also. We are hosting almost 1.6 million refugees during this period. So we have a great cultural diversity. We are serving a lot of different services, all these different communities, especially refugees. They need everything. We are supporting as a Istanbul municipality, metropolitan municipality. We are serving foods, we are serving clothes, we are organizing houses. So this is one side of diversity. On the other hand, thousand years, there are a lot of Jewish people lives in a peace together, and also Christian peoples. They have different culture. They have a different historical heritage. We are keeping all these type of historical heritage very carefully. So we are paying more attention all these different cultures in Istanbul.
Thank you very much, John. And I move on to Dominic. Dominic, I have been sitting on Piazza Vittorie a few years ago on this terrace, which is just facing this huge theatre, which not only has the National Theatre, but also a German theatre and a Hungarian one. And while I was sitting there, my friends were ordering drinks in Romanian, of course, and I heard the waiter having a chat with our clients in Hungarian as well as in Serbian. And I thought, like, this is really a place that epitomizes diversity like few other places. Now, you already said in your video, you have been elected as a German citizen, as mayor of Timișoara. And there is a huge, well, not that huge anymore, but there was a huge German-speaking community in Timișoara. But you're not part of that ancient German-speaking community. You're a German from Germany. I was wondering, how was the city ready for you? How was the city ready to elect a foreign mayor?
Well, it was indeed a very interesting campaign. But actually, Timișoara has this rich multicultural history. The first mayors of Timișoara a few hundred years ago were German speaking. I came first to Timișoara when I was 19. I volunteered in an orphanage here in the city, and as you, I was impressed when, I don't know, going with the tramway, I was hearing Hungarian and German and Serbian and Romanian people speaking in all different languages, and they are not immigrants, but they're actually historical minorities that have been living here for hundreds of years peacefully together, and that was something that fascinated me. And I think for a lot of Timișoarans, my candidacy reminded them of this rich heritage, and also I assume Germans still have a good name here, and there were some very good German mayors in the past, and maybe people were reminded of that. But I think mostly it wasn't about my nationality, but it was really about what this can mean to Europe, and what the history of Timișoara and the story of Timișoara, which is in one sentence, that diversity breeds innovation, and where different ideas and different languages and different perspectives meet each other, then new ideas come up. And this is the story of Timișoara, and this is a story that Timișoara has to tell Europe. And I think many people resonated with that approach of mine, and this is why I won the election.
Dominic, let me just take you on this. You just said how diversity breeds innovation. Could you give me an example how diversity breeds innovation now, currently, in these times, in Timișoara?
Well, I think we have several cultural centers. We have, as you said, for example, we have 3 theaters under one roof: the Romanian National Theatre, and a German theater, and a Hungarian theater, and which are financed by the city hall, so they're public theaters. And obviously, we also encourage them to work together and maybe have a Hungarian director direct in the German theater, and so this I think opens up possibilities. It brings new perspectives, but also in the independent scene, I think we have a jazz festival that is bringing people from all over the Balkans, and it's a kind of, I think it's a kind of naturalness of diversity. It's not, nobody's fussing about it. We're not reflecting about it the whole day, but it's very natural that we switch from one language to another. And I think as a municipality, our responsibility is to offer, on the one hand, to support the existing minorities in keeping up their language. We have a Hungarian school, we have a Serbian school, we have a German school, where the children of the minorities or even other majority ethnicity children can learn in these specific languages. So we have to, I think we have to keep up the language and the culture of every minority, but at the same time we need to foster collaboration, and we need to offer a public space.
We need to offer cultural spaces where everybody can meet and not just kind of keep their own culture, but where we can foster these kind of intercultural collaborations.
Dominic, let me interrupt you because you just gave me the perfect keyword to build a bridge to Anuela from Tirana, because you just spoke about children and schools. Now, Tirana, Anuela, I wanted to say, when I read about Tirana this recent years, what I read about is innovative urban planning. I've never been to Tirana, but I would really like to go because I'm getting curious more and more about how things are going in Tirana. When I prepared this debate, I Googled, of course, all speakers, and I found a video of yours on a playground presenting how Tirana has gone from 0 playgrounds to 45. And I think giving opportunities to children is one of the aspects of ensuring diversity. But what I wanted to ask you is what are the main projects you're busy with to make Tirana a better place for all its inhabitants currently?
Thank you so much for this question, and thank you for watching the video. Obviously, nobody's perfect, so you have to come to fix that. But definitely a place to visit. Tirana is going to be the youth capital of Europe next year, 2022. It's the first time a capital city is actually also the capital of youth. Usually, this kind of opportunities go to cities that are smaller, to promote them as well. But since Albania's never had something, this is a great chance to display Tirana. Because obviously, as you're saying, it never occurred, or like it never was one destination that would automatically come to your mind to visit. Unlike some other places. What we're doing since 2015 is we are implementing a very innovative type of urban planning. And for all of the mayors who are here today, I'm sure they know, cities haven't been in the last 50 years at least with the citizen in the center as the monument around which we should build cities. Cities have been projected with the parameters of being really efficient, of taking the working men, usually from A to B, of pouring in a concrete and a lot of facilities for these metallic boxes that are cars. And little has been invested into the diversity in terms of representation of what a typical citizen would be. We've been thinking about, the average working person, but we haven't been thinking about a lot of other citizens that are equally as and have the same rights. And those citizens are usually the extremes of the ages. So really, really, really young children, really, really, really senior citizens. And the test of a functioning city is if it works for these extremes, then it works for everybody in the middle. That is the philosophy of our urban planning and of our projects in the last years. When you mentioned that we went from 0 to 45, we're actually now up to 65. Our commitment was to have at least one playground per month in the office. That should be roughly the math right now. It's not just the playgrounds. The idea of living in a city is that you're sharing common spaces, that you're creating a community. And that is what urban centers are places where people interact with each other. And how do we make that? How do we facilitate that? Well, by creating open spaces that are not just simply playgrounds, but even pedestrian streets, bike lanes. We went from to now we have 50 kilometers of bike lanes connecting the main arteries of the city. Building big highways that divide communities from one side to the other, you make the interaction of community, whether you're going to school to work, or whether you're doing your functional services, by walking or by bike. That is how you build communities. That's how you are in eye contact with other citizens. That's how you get to know each other, get to know your neighbor down at the cafe, or this, so you can show, or that's how you get to connect with people who are helping you out on the crossroads when you're taking your bike over. And this is really building community. So at the center of it, urban planning is not a technical exercise, it's mostly a humanity exercise, is how to make coexistence and cohabitation functional and then healthier for everyone.
Thank you very much, Anuela. I have to admit, and I am utterly sorry, I didn't introduce one of our speakers who comes in now, Jean-Pierre Alquin, who is the head of unit for macro-regions at the Directorate General for Region and Urban Policy at the European Commission. Jean-Pierre, how can Europe help? We have heard from people administrating cities outside and inside the European Union. I'm wondering, how can the European Union help these places to make the best out of their diversities?
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this very exciting event, and I was also delighted to hear the previous speakers intervening. We know that diversity is really a fundamental value of the European Union. We believe in cultural diversity, religious diversity, linguistic diversity, but also for sexual orientation. The cities are playing a key role in the evolution of the society. We know the key challenge we have in front of us. We need to build an economy which is greener. We need to reconcile ourselves with the planet, with the ecosystem, with the biodiversity and the limited resources we have. But we need also to seize the benefit offered by the digital transition. And last but not least, we also want to make sure that we are leaving no one behind, that the economy is working for everyone. In this context, Europe is providing a growing attention to the cities with a urban agenda, a urban policy, with a numerous initiatives that I will not list here. But we have also some initiatives which are making sure that cities in Europe and cities around Europe, and notably in the Balkans, are able to work together. And one of those is called macro-regional strategy. It's called USER. It is a European Union strategy for the Adriatic-Ionian region. The presidency of the strategy will be held by Albania next year, so we are certainly going to keep the discussion in Tirana very soon. And in this strategy, there are two key fundamental principles that I need to remind. First, it is equal footing. So you may be in Europe or you may be outside in the Balkans, you are still working on equal footing together. And the second is the multi-level governance. We know that with the challenges we have in front of us, we need to make sure that all levels of responsibilities are playing their role, meaning the European one, the national one, but certainly the regional and the cities one. That's very important. That's why also we are supporting the network of universities, regions, and cities in the Balkan, in user area, to make sure that we create the space for the cities to work together, because it's where the innovation will take place, and it's also where the change must take place, because it's the place where most of the inhabitants are living. And also in Europe, at least, and around Europe, it is also the place where economic growth is also taking place. So working with the cities is totally central. And I see that I need to stop, but from what I heard, I'm certainly reassured that it will take place.
Jean-Pierre, be ensured you're coming back later, because you're a participant in one of the next debates later also. So be sure that you will have the word later on. Now, I just have to say, because it was mentioned by the two previous speakers, Tirana is actually next year the capital, the European capital of youth. And one of the things that will be organized at this in Tirana next year is a similar set of debates as we are having now here on similar topics, organized by the European Union. Now I want to move to another topic which links cities and culture, which is the COVID-19 situation, which is of course something, well, artists, the whole culture sector has been suffering from more than many other sectors, because people just can't go to concerts anymore. We're organizing these debates online. Debate is still something quite easy to organize. But we're also having concerts online, and we all crave, of course, for coming back to normal concerts with a band on the scene and so on. So let me just ask you a short round, because time is running out, but I would like gather your tips for the others, also in a view of sharing experience. What do you do to keep the city's vibrant cultural life alive during this COVID period? Maybe Jasna for first couple of tips.
Thank you very much. Yeah, this epidemic time is hard for all of us, of course, especially for the all who works on the field of culture. This is also the problem that we have in our state, because it's led from the national level. So the government still persists. I mean, all the cultural things mostly are closed. There can't be any, of course, open air concerts. But how we are trying to do our best is that we having like online events, but there is not much of them, because the artists, I mean the organizers, say, okay, we will postpone the event to a next time, but still, the ones who are organized by the community, we are all having them online. We have open library, but our huge cultural home is still closed. And I don't know when we can open it. I hope very soon, and I hope that everything goes back to normal tracks that it was before. It is hard for us, I know. It's especially hard for the ones who are working in culture. So we don't have, it's not like a magic to change in one day, but you can be only a good support to them. These are the tools, so online, and maybe reasonable events when you have to have 2 meters between each other, but the feeling is not the same.
Yes, no, thanks a lot. Maybe Can, what is Istanbul doing, very shortly, because time is of course already running out, what is Istanbul doing to keep the vibrant artistic life of the city alive during these COVID-19 times?
Sorry. Thank you again. As our most recent project, we have started a big sport for theater artists under the motto "Istanbul is your stage," which means almost 10,000 musicians. They have no job. They have no opportunity to show their performance. So, in order to support these more than 10,000 musicians, we called the project, which is named "Istanbul is your stage." They are performing their musician activities everywhere, metro stations, parks, any open area, not a organization, a specific organization. Is a kind of randomly rush hour. They are performing bus station. They are performing their art. Just only give to them some money. So we are supporting almost 10,000 musicians. Not a professional musician. They are most of them amateur musicians. We are supporting during this period. We support if you give some numbers, more than 10 million euro we give to these musicians during this period.
Excellent. Thank you very much, John. Dominic, arts in Timisoara during this COVID-19 period, what can the city actually do?
Yeah, obviously, as my colleagues have said, there's not much we can do in changing the rules about how cultural events can take place. What I find very important is to encourage the cultural community, both the independent community but also the institutions, by staying in touch with them. We have had several debates, meetings with me, roundtables, and keeping the conversation about what we want to do after the pandemic allows us again to have cultural events. keeping that conversation alive, and also providing a time frame, a clear time frame for public funding for culture, reassuring them that we're not cutting funding but expanding funding. And so we will now start a call for over €1 million for independent cultural projects during summer, regardless of what happens with the pandemic. So I think this is important for them to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and to see that we as a public administration and as a local administration have a plan for what happens afterwards.
And seeing the light at the end of the tunnel is probably what we're all craving for during these times. And for Timișoara, it's of course very important as next year's European Capital of Culture. Anuela, just a quick assessment from Tirana. But what can Tirana actually do during these times for the artistics, for the artists in the city?
Pulling everything outside. During the summer, we were still allowed to gather outdoors. And so we made the best use out of our amphitheater, which was completely outdoor and has a big capacity to have actually proper concerts for the period, which were completely safe and it was measured that they didn't cause any of infections, or they were completely safe in terms of COVID. Right after that, during the fall, the only cultural events that we could organize were exhibitions. They were pulled as well as much as they could be. But we still have all of our museums, all of our galleries, and all of our libraries open meanwhile. So yes, it's been hard for artists, but none of the funding has been cut for cultural events from the city. So, other things have been rearranged, but we managed to keep at 80% cultural activities of arts alive by the funding that the city had granted for 2020.
Anuela, thank you so much. And unfortunately, time is already running out, so I have to conclude this. And as I said in the beginning, we have an in-house artist who was drawing cartoons while we were having this debate. Perhaps we can show a best of what she has been drawing during this debate. And I want to say a very, very warm thank you to all participants. I know the time has been short and probably you had so much more things to say, and I had so many more questions actually on my cards here to ask you. But it's not all over now. In 45 minutes, actually a little bit less than that now already, there's the next debate on the freedom of expression, another very, very important topic, not only for the Balkans. These debates are supported by the European Union, and it's not only the debates that will follow. The whole Balkan Traffic Festival is online, so make sure you go to balkantraffic.com and also download the app of the festival. Have a look, see the music, and see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.